Hey everyone, Elizabeth Scala here. Welcome back to our elbow surgery recovery from the patient's perspective video series. So as I mentioned in a previous video, I used the word sleeve when I was talking to you from Cape May, New Jersey about being out in the sun and needing my sleeve. I shared with you that I would make this subsequent video to give you a couple of ways to use the sleeve. But before we get to that, let's backtrack. So what the heck is a sleeve and how did I get one and where do you get it and what's that? So when I broke my elbow, I was actually given I was molded a soft splint that went on my arm. And then my husband and I had to wrap it in gauze each evening after we cleaned and let it like air dry. That was all leading up to surgery. After surgery, I was put into a soft cast, which was the same thing. Like they molded something to my arm. It was wrapped up. But for 10 days after surgery, we did not remove it. We did not take it off. That stayed. Then 10 days after surgery, went to the surgeon's office. I had that, I'd say, cast cut off. And I was like, oh, my arm is exposed. And immediately from that surgeon's appointment, I went to my first appointment with, I didn't know it at the time, my occupational therapist. So I thought I was going to physical therapy because that's what my surgeon kept saying. I talked with my occupational therapist about this at length. There's some certifications and different exams and different qualifiers, but you might go to physical therapy, you might go to occupational therapy. It's essentially similar. I don't want to say the same because that'd probably offend the therapist. But anyway, so when I get to occupational therapy that first day, August 24th, 2020, I was made this. Ooh, ugh, look at that. That's awful. It's a removable splint that actually my surgeon prescribed the angle that my occupational therapist made this splint. So she literally kept running back and forth, and you can read about this in my upcoming or when it's out book about recovering from elbow surgery. But she kept running into this back room, and this actually gets hard from some process that they do. I don't know. And then they add these Velcro straps, and your arm, sits in it. But look at this. This is like a hard plastic, and it's really like uncomfortable. Like I said, look at this. The inside, I used to put padding in here. So underneath, so your skin doesn't go right on this. You have a sleeve. You put the sleeve on, and then you put this on around the sleeve. I'm not going to put it on. And then at other points in my recovery, I was given other splints. So I have many, many, many sleeves because first of all, you obviously don't want to wear the same one the whole time. You clean them. And then as one is in the wash, you want to wear another one. But early on, and even when I removed this splint to do my occupational therapy exercises, I would either keep this on or take it off. That was neither here nor there. So early on, I noticed I wore it a lot more often. My skin was very sensitive to touch. My skin, the scar, the incision site, was a wound. And I personally am like freaked out by blood and guts. I didn't really look at the scar. In fact, my surgeon told me, and this is another story, but my surgeon told me, oh, you can pull your own, stitches out, they'll fall out. I never did that. My occupational therapist one day just did it at therapy. But what are some ways we can use these sleeves? That was what I was going to tell you about in this video. So first of all, I kind of like it. Like if I had two, I'd be like 80s style rocker. No, but the first video where I spoke to you about in Cape May, New Jersey, about being out in the sun and covering up your scar and making sure that that really healing kind of new, fresh skin is protected, I now bring this sleeve, because I had forgotten it, but I bring this sleeve when I go to the beach. And you may not want it on your whole arm, but you can bend it and you can move it, make it smaller so it's just around your elbow, covering the scar and covering. So then that way it's not too obtrusive and you can still get your suntan. So that's one thing. Let me take this off. One thing is when you're tanning, when you're out at the beach, when you're on the boat, covering up, you can't really see mine. It's going good. Yeah, I've done well at taking care of this. But to cover up your scar, to cover up your new skin, you can wear your sleeve. Another thing was at occupational therapy, in order to strengthen your tricep and bicep muscles, they had me doing different, extension and flexion type exercises. So sometimes I was unable to get to therapy because I wasn't driving, and it's a lot of therapy to get a lot of help from a lot of drivers. So sometimes I couldn't go to occupational therapy, and I just had to say, I can't come this day, whatever. I'll do my exercises at home. So I needed a resistance band, which I did not have, a resistance band like you see at the gym or exercise with a personal trainer. But this sleeve is stretchy. And so to do my, let's say my tricep exercises, I would hold the sleeve like wrapped around my hand and literally, you can see my tricep moving, but literally do my reps. So I didn't get a resistance band. I never bought one because she said I could, because I was using my sleeve as a resistance band. Another good use for my sleeve, and I've talked about this in a previous video too, is about sleep. I'm an extremely light sleeper. You might be too. I don't know. You might be a great sleeper. But this thing, sleeve, is a great size, and I've done this with one of mine made straps, but you can make a beautiful, breathable sleep mask so that you can sleep without getting the light in your eyes at night. So that's another use. So resistance band, making sure you block your scarf from the sun, sleeping with your sleep mask. And the final use for the sleeve is for cold. So in the beginning, I was diagnosed with complex regional pain syndrome, CRPS, in my elbow. My pain was very increased. I had a lot of weird things going on. And so I was sent to an interventional pain specialist during my elbow journey, recovery, who diagnosed me with CRPS in my elbow. And there's a whole other world to talk to you about in that. But one thing with that is your arm gets cold or warm when the rest of your body is not. And honestly, when they took the cast off and then my arm was exposed and they said, don't sleep in your splint anymore, sleep without it, my arm would get really cold really quickly or often. And another thing, I talked to you about sleeping with the pillows. Well, I was sleeping with a pillow on my arm and it was out of the covers. So my arm wasn't covered at night, and I'd be like in a tank top like this or whatever I was wearing. So my whole arm was exposed without covering. So sleeping, my arm would get cold, and guess what? I pulled out my sleeve, I put it on my arm, and I would just sleep with it, which is why I have so many. So you have scar cover up for sunscreen protection, sleeping mask eyewear to help you sleep, resistance band to help you do your occupational therapy exercises, and just to stay warm if your arm is cold and you need something to cover it up. And I will have more fun ways for you to use your sleeve. So stay tuned and visit my website, elizabethscala.com, for details about that. But thanks for watching this video, and I'll be back with more elbow surgery recovery vlogs in a bit. Bye-bye.